New at 10, a mother and her children come under attack in a violent case of road rage. The irate driver intentionally slams into the mom's car, but police say it didn't end there.
Two teenagers found shot in a Metro East neighborhood.
All we heard was shoot. We had to run her house.
News 4 is tracking what police are doing to catch the gunman as residents remain uneasy.
Fired for getting a mammogram?
I lost my job over being proactive for my health.
Why a woman says she got a pink slip because she chose her health over her job on News 4 at 10 right now.
Live from KMOV, this is News 4 at 10.
Fast-moving storms wreaking havoc in parts of our area. A tree crashing onto the roof of a home in St. Charles County earlier this evening.
And right now, Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton is tracking another line of storms moving in tonight.
And the storms come in, and it started getting worse, and then all of a sudden it really got worse. It was like sideways.
As we mentioned moments ago, many St. Charles County residents are still reeling from the rough weather earlier this evening.
We know at least one home suffered thousands of dollars worth of damage. Ray Preston has been talking with homeowners.
He's live with the Bomberio Street Fleet at the St. Charles County Newsroom. Ray? At 10, a frightening case of road rage as a mother and her children reportedly come under attack by an irate driver. Officers tell us it happened earlier this week on Academy Avenue in North St. Louis. Police say 20-year-old Mercedes Jones intentionally rammed her SUV into another car multiple times while a mother and her two-year-old children were inside. Police say Jones then got out of her car and swung a tire iron at them. Neither the mom nor her children were hurt.
Cory, tonight a Metro East mother is charged with the murder of her newborn child. This is a case News 4 has been tracking since September of 2013. That is when prosecutors say Sierra Jackson gave birth to a baby boy in a toilet and then tossed the child out of a second-story window at a home in East St. Louis. Jackson was charged with first-degree murder today. She is also accused of trying to conceal the death. Right now, she is not in custody.
Jasmine, new at 10, a man allegedly fights off police and tries to take one officer's taser. Investigators say 20-year-old Brandon Wynn ran from officers during a traffic stop only to be tackled by police. During the struggle, Wynn allegedly kicked and elbowed an officer before trying to grab the officer's taser. When police finally subdued him, they say he was also armed with a loaded handgun. Who shot two teenagers? That's the question police in the Metro East are looking to answer tonight after gunfire erupted in an East St. Louis housing complex. News 4's Brittany Noble-Jones is tracking the investigation tonight and spoke with residents in that neighborhood about this senseless violence. Brittany?
Tonight, the investigation into the homicide of a Sunset Hills woman is now out of the hands of the Major K Squad. Investigators with Major K say they have completed their 5-day investigation into the death of 86-year-old Terry Toby, and now they are turning over the case to Sunset Hills Police. Toby was found dead on Sunday in her home on Bradford Woods Drive. Police are offering a $5,000 reward for tips that lead to an arrest.
Meanwhile, the search continues for a Sunset Hills woman who has not been seen or heard from in almost 2 weeks. Both St. Louis County Police and the Major K Squad are hoping to find 57-year-old Linda McLaughlin. Last week, police searched property that McLaughlin owned in Franklin County but did not find her. Her SUV was found in South St. Louis last week, but again, no sign of McLaughlin. A gun rights activist who planned to bring his gun into the St. Louis Zoo tomorrow is now being barred from doing so by a St. Louis judge. A temporary restraining order has been ordered against activist Jeffrey Smith. We first spoke with Smith last week after he claimed that the gun bans which apply to amusement parks in Missouri should not extend to publicly owned areas like the zoo. Smith still plans to hold a demonstration tomorrow at the zoo, but tells us he does not plan to bring his gun.
Still ahead at News 4 at 10, fired over a mammogram. Why a mother says she got the boot because of a medical appointment.
Plus, police storm into a marijuana dispensary, and it's what one of the cops may have eaten during the raid that could land him in big trouble.
Also, an arrest tonight connected to the prison break of 2 killers, but it's not the convicts who are now behind bars.
fast as it went up, it went down too. It was nuts.
Lincoln County is trying to dry out after it was hit by a huge downpour.
They're building a boat. Another community bracing for the rising water.
For this to happen early in the morning, that's just crazy.
A Burger King manager shoots a former employee at the restaurant. What led to this violent confrontation?
Gay marriage now legal everywhere, according to the Supreme Court. The reaction from across the country.
Live from KMOV, News 4 is covering breaking news.
Breaking news tonight. After nearly 3 weeks on the run, one of the escaped murderers from a New York prison is dead. Richard Matt was shot and killed by police. Police are chasing the other escapee, David Sweat. More than 1,100 law enforcement officials are now on the manhunt near Belmont, New York. 2 prison employees are charged in connection to the jailbreak.
And we have more breaking news. This is in North St. Louis. That is where police are right now investigating a shooting. They say this happened in an alley near Palm Street and Norwood Avenues, just a couple blocks south of Natural Bridge. We're told a man in his 20s was shot in the stomach and taken to the hospital. The homicide unit has been called in to assist with this investigation. Of course, we will bring you more information as we get it.
More breaking news in North St. Louis County. That's where the fight to recall Ferguson Mayor James Knowles has fallen short once again. The County Election Commission says the recall petition was short by 27 signatures. More than 1,500 signatures were rejected from people who did not live in Ferguson or were not registered voters.
And now to the other big story tonight. Flooded homes, water-soaked roads and fields. We have crews across the area monitoring the impact from the heavy rains. But we still have flood warnings and a few more showers this evening.
We'll get right to Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton and Meteorologist Megan Danahay.
They have a look at Sky Tracker Doppler and ongoing.
Lincoln County is working to clean up after the flash flooding left long-lasting effects.
This was the scene early this morning. At least 3 feet of water destroying parts of some homes and businesses. Brittany Noble-Jones is live tonight from the storm mode Silverado with a look at how that area is cleaning up.
Many families have been evacuated from their homes because of the heavy rains.
A lot of people were being boated out by emergency personnel because they couldn't get their, obviously they couldn't get cars through the water, so they had to use boats to get them out.
The Red Cross opened a shelter at the Sacred Heart Church in Troy to help flood victims. They can get a meal, a warm place to dry off, and help with taking the first steps to recovery. The shelter will remain open until people can get back into their homes. Sky Zoom 4 was able to show us just how extensive the Lincoln County flooding is. Just take a look. We actually found propane tanks floating away in the rising waters. You can watch the entire aerial tour of the area at KMOV.com. A woman carjacked in a quiet South City neighborhood. We're tracking crime trends tonight on News 4 at 6.
The president celebrates the lives of those lost in the Charleston massacre. More tonight on the CBS Evening News, coming up at 5:30.
$15 minimum wages in St. Louis, dead for now. Why this may not happen at all now, coming up at 5:25.
A former Burger King employee is in stable condition after a shooting on North Kings Highway this morning.
Yeah, police sources say the employee was fired from the restaurant yesterday. They say when he showed up around 6 this morning, an altercation ensued with the manager who then shot him. News 4's Mugo Odigwe spoke with an eyewitness about the shooting. Mugo. Megan, of course, we have seen a lot of rain last night. Man, it rained really hard. And Jasmine just showed us those dark clouds kind of in the area downtown.
Yes, we have some showers. You know, the Cardinals trying to get that game in tonight, and I think we'll have no trouble with that. We are tracking a few showers and some of those dark clouds across the area.
The fight to increase the minimum wage in St. Louis hits a major roadblock today and potentially could be squashed for good. A decision by a South City alderman now has other city leaders upset. 23rd Ward Alderman Joe Vaccaro made a surprising announcement to cancel all future Ways and Means Committee meetings that pertain to increasing the minimum wage in the city.
This came to us 2 weeks ago with a hurry-up pass, and it's too big of a bill. It's too important of a bill to have a hurry-up and pass. answer.
It means that families are continuing to live in poverty.
Alderwoman Megan Green has been working on the bill that would raise the minimum wage to $15 per hour by the year 2020. After Vaccaro made his announcement, this abrupt exchange.
To not talk to any of the co-sponsors that this was what he was doing is highly discouraging and unprofessional.
By halting future committee meetings to discuss the minimum wage increase, the bill can't be brought to vote by the Board of Aldermen. The Board of Aldermen go on summer recess July 10th and has until the end of August to come up with a resolution, but now those discussions are squashed.
There is no right thing to do that you can do in less than 3 weeks. Not something that affects the whole city of St. Louis, the businesses.
But it's not uncommon for us to be called into a resumption of meetings to deal with important issues. This is certainly an important issue. It impacts tens of thousands of workers in the St. Louis city area.
The sponsor of the bill, Alderman Shane Cohn, says an option is to bring the bill straight to the Board of Aldermen floor without it having to be passed in committee, but it would take a 2/3 vote. The CBS Evening News with Scott Pelley is next.
But at first, at 6 o'clock tonight,
New at 10, he was in the middle of a chaotic protest at St. Louis City Hall.
It sucks what took place, but I don't regret anything that happened.
Now this Ferguson Commission member is talking to News 4 about getting a chance to wipe the slate clean.
A truck falls 6 stories off a parking garage. See what complete strangers did to try and save the driver.
Front coming our way tonight brings us a chance of storms to end off the work week. I'll detail the timing coming up.
Plus, innocent or offensive, the Facebook picture of a child that's sparking a controversial debate on News 4 at 10 right now.
Live from KMOV, this is News 4 at 10.
All new at 10, brand new video into our newsroom tonight as a cross-state police chase comes to a wild end in North St. Louis.
This video is coming courtesy of a viewer as that chase came to an end near Broadway and Salisbury. That is where police took the suspect into custody. The chase started in North St. Louis County before crossing into Madison, Illinois, and then back into St. Louis. We are learning the man was wanted in connection with a robbery. We will bring you any updates on KMOV.com and News 4 this morning.
I'm ecstatic to finally get all of this wiped away and clean.
He was accused of assaulting a city marshal during a protest, but tonight the youngest member of the Ferguson Commission is getting a chance at a clean slate.
But News 4 is discovering that Rasheen Aldred is not fully in the clear just yet.
Investigation is underway after a man reportedly exposed himself to a woman on the UMSL campus. We spoke with a university official who says it was reported Monday night near the Millennium Student Center. The woman says she was walking to her car when a man drove up in a black sports car and exposed himself. Police canvassed the area, but no arrests have been made. UMSL officials tell us no other similar reports have been made.
We are getting new video tonight of the man wanted in connection with the shooting in Country Club Hills. You can see the man walking toward the surveillance camera. St. Louis County Police tell us he is linked to the shooting of a man on Eagle Valley Drive that we first told you about back in March. If you can identify the man in that video, you are asked to call Crime Stoppers at the number on your screen. Corey?
Jasmine, new at 10, a high-speed police chase. The getaway car barely misses hitting several drivers, and tonight police say one man was behind it all. 32-year-old Vincent Griffin is accused of leading police officers in that chase that started near Martin Luther King Drive in Vanderventer last night. Officers were checking on a stolen car investigation. Investigators say Griffin drove onto oncoming traffic and just missed hitting several cars before finally getting caught.
Tonight, a 7-year-old child is recovering after being hit by a car in South St. Louis. Police tell News 4 that the child was hit earlier this evening near Ellendale Avenue and Arsenal. We are told that the child was alert at the scene and is now recovering from minor injuries. We are working to find out if the driver of the car will face any charges.
New information tonight. We now know the name of a young man who was hit and killed by a car while riding his bike in North St. Louis. Police identifying him as 21-year-old Timothy Canada. He died last night after investigators say he swerved into traffic and collided with a car near Page and Euclid. Canada was not wearing a helmet at the time. So far, no charges have been filed against the driver. Tonight, we're finding out this is the second time someone in this family has died after being hit by a driver in less than a year. News 4's Alexis Soto spoke with the family of the cyclist, as tonight they're hoping this second death will provide a valuable lesson for bicyclists. Alexis? Tonight, the Missouri State Highway Patrol is accused of trying to silence one of its own. Sergeant Randy Henry was critical of the Highway Patrol's handling of the drowning of a man at the Lake of the Ozarks while he was in their custody last summer. He's now being demoted from sergeant to corporal. Henry's attorney says it's because he spoke out about the lack of training for troopers after 21-year-old Brandon Ellingson's drowning. A North St. Louis County Police Department says its crime numbers are at an all-time low.
And this is all after they started a new form of policing that allows the residents to grade their officers. Only on News 4, our Brittany Noble-Jones sits down with the Normandy Police Chief to talk about his new community policing program.
Live from KMOV, News 4 is in storm mode.
Good evening. We begin tonight with the weather situation. The storm team has been watching the radar all afternoon. Let's go right to them for the very tonight's strong line of storms started developing earlier this evening north of St. Louis. Check out this video. This is near Eolia, Missouri in Pike County. The storm moved through that area around 6 p.m. We talked to emergency crews near Eolia, and they report no significant damage from the tornado. And News 4 crews are checking out storm damage in St. Charles County. Chris Nagus is live tonight in St. Peters. Chris, what are you seeing? Good advice there, Chris. And right now we're watching a flash flooding situation in South City. News 4's photojournalist Brian Howe is there live tonight. And Brian, what's the very latest? And if you haven't already, now would be a good time to download the KMOV weather app. Just search KMOV in your phone's app store and download it for free. It will give you up-to-the-minute forecast and alerts and radar wherever you are. New at 10, a rail line is shut down in the Metro East because of a train derailment. Take a look at the scene. About half a dozen freight cars derailed around 4:30 this afternoon. This is on the tracks near Bond Avenue in Allerton. Inspectors say the train did hit the overpass, but it was not damaged, and vehicle traffic can move through the area. No one was injured, and no word yet on what may have caused that derailment. New information tonight in a major K-Squad investigation in the Metro East. Police found a man's body last night in an apartment building in Shiloh. Police say they got a call for shots fired at 22 Yorkshire just after 11:30 last night. When officers arrived, they found the body of 26-year-old Kenneth Easley laying in front of his apartment. At this point, investigators not releasing an official cause of death as they await an autopsy. This crime shaking up some residents, but police are urging calm.
We want the community of Shiloh to know that this probably wasn't a random act of violence, but still be ever vigilant because whoever's responsible for it is still out there. If they see anything suspicious, please call 911 right away and let local law enforcement evaluate the situation.
The major case squad has 14 investigators working this case. They're asking anyone with information to call police. St. Louis police are working to find 2 vehicles involved in a hit and run overnight in downtown St. Louis. Police say a 50-year-old man was critically injured when he was struck by 2 cars in the 700 block of South Broadway. Witnesses told police the victim was walking across the street just before 3 a.m. when he was struck by a black Mercedes going at a high rate of speed. A second car, a maroon sedan, also hit the victim. Police say both vehicles drove away from the scene. Anyone with information on this case should call St. Louis police. The manhunt is over for the second prison escapee in upstate New York. Police say David Sweat was shot and injured before being taken into custody. Sweat's fellow escapee, Richard Matt, was shot and killed by police on Friday. Kenneth Craig has more on how Sweat was captured.
An alert New York.
A St. Louis area fugitive is also in custody tonight. Police arrested 52-year-old Gregory Nelson Saturday evening at an apartment in St. Anne. He is facing attempted murder charges for allegedly shooting at an Illinois state trooper in East St. Louis last week. Firefighters are working to determine the cause of an early morning fire at a 6-story building in downtown St. Louis. The fire broke out just after 6:30 at the building at 17th and Papin. Firefighters say the flames started on the 3rd floor and were mostly contained to just one room. They say about 50 to 60 homeless people live in that building on any given night.
All I know is that the intensity of the fire, it was coming in different directions, so therefore I thought that it might have been in more than one room because there's many rooms in this facility.
The fire was quickly knocked down. It was contained to one room, actually. Decent amount of smoke conditions, which causes concern for any potential occupants inside.
And some good news. Firefighters say everyone was able to get out of the building safely and no one was hurt. It's getting a little easier to travel between St. Louis and St. Charles counties. The new Daniel Boone Bridge is now open to traffic. The bridge carries eastbound traffic across the Missouri River from Weldon Springs to Chesterfield. Crews will now begin rehabbing the next span of the bridge, which will be used for westbound traffic later this year. Still ahead on News 4 at 10, a pilot dies in a crash in an air show in western Missouri. What witnesses are telling investigators about the moments before the crash. Plus, a scary afternoon in a neighborhood near Boston. A small plane crashes into a house, killing all 3 people on board as the homeowners scramble for safety. And a rocket headed to the International Space Station breaks apart just after launch. Now scientists are working to find out why. Those stories when we come back.